Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kayla, and today we're going to be starting a new series on my channel. Not a new book series. I start those all the time. But so I thought it would be fun to do a insert name made me read this. So in this series I want to read books that I read because I saw them discussed on TV. I don't know about you, but I notoriously do that. Like if I hear someone talking about a book, especially on a show, I want to understand why they're talking about it. And one of the ones that was at the top of my list for the longest time was Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. This is mentioned in The Office, in the Finer Things Club. They're reading it at the very end of the show. I will insert the clip right now.
Angela's Ashes, top of the morning to it. Frankie's prose is finer than a pass of gold, say I. No, I mean, I really liked it. That was a fun read.
Fun?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
What was fun about it for you? Was it the death of the twins?
No, that wasn't fun.
Did you even read it? Who was the main character?
Angela. Nope. The Ashes.
And so, because I thought that this scene, first of all, is funny, because of course Jim didn't read the fucking book. Of course he didn't. You know, God forbid he take something serious and Pam stuck her neck out for him and got him into the club, and then he just has to be himself. And so I thought I would read the book. I actually ended up reading this book with my book club because we were reading memoirs, and it was something I already owned. It was something on my TBR already, and it ended up winning, surprisingly enough. And a few people said that the only reason they voted for it is because they saw it on The Office, and so I read it. And let me say this is one of the most depressing books I have ever read, which makes that scene so much funnier, because like this book is like, the first 3 chapters is basically just people dying. This book is a memoir of Frank McCourt, who is the author. He grew up in Ireland during the Great Depression. Frank was born in the US, but because of some issues financially that his parents had, they end up moving back to Ireland, and that is where basically the entire story takes place. He grew up in an extremely impoverished family with an alcoholic father and a mother who didn't work because she's raising all these children. And his siblings, like they mentioned in the clip, they talk about the death of the twins. Oh my gosh. Literally in the first 3 chapters, 3 babies die. It is a hard read. I just couldn't stop crying. I just cried forever. Basically at the end of every chapter for the first 4 chapters, you have to set the book down because the events weigh so heavily on your heart. It is a hard book to read. But it also is comical, because the perspective of it is Frank as a child. So he's looking at the world, and a lot of the writing is just how he perceives these things, as a 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't remember how old he is. He grows up, so obviously it's a lot of different ages, but seeing his view of his dad, who constantly is coming home just shit-faced hammered. Every time he gets paid, he goes and blows his paycheck on booze and drinks it all away, and then comes home with no money to feed his family. They're literally starving. He wakes up all the boys, all his children, and forces them to sing the Ballad of Kevin Barry and pledge to die for Ireland. Every fucking night, and eventually Frank's view of this changes as he grows up, but as a child he's just it's just kind of comical at first. And then he discusses how he's supposed to die for Christ and the church because they're this Catholic family, and then he's also supposed to die for Ireland, and he's just like, God, how many people I gotta die for? He's a child, and he's literally everybody's saying I need to die for them. I should die instead of eating soup and becoming a Protestant, it's just, I don't know. It's a hard, weird book to read and talk about, but honestly, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I know that there are some people who are like, oh my gosh, he just wrote it to be depressing. He just wrote it to be edgy or something. And it's the things that you remember about your childhood are obviously going to be the high points and the low points. And he had a lot of fucking low points in his life. So yeah, there's a lot of low points included in this, but I felt like it was just a really good, informative book. And there's also, in the end, like, you end up like feeling good, like, not about everything, but like Frank eventually gets to America, and he is a professor, a college professor here now, and so it's just like knowing that he overcame all of this stuff, and all these, you know, so many of his siblings don't make it, you know, like his mom is feeding the children sugar water, like they don't have milk, they barely have food. Neighbors, people in the places they live go out of their way to help these kids, you know, like they'll give them food, they'll give them milk, like they try, they help them, they know that these kids are struggling, this family is struggling, that the dad is just fucking everything up. And so there's moments like that that made me cry also, because they were so heartwarming, that people were looking out for them when, in a time when not very many people had a lot. And another hard part about this book is their families basically refuse to help them, you know. Obviously, like I said, most people don't have a lot, but quite a few of their family have enough to help a little bit, you know what I mean? But they don't want to help. They're like, oh, well, you shouldn't have gone and married that fucking guy. They all just trash Frank's mom for marrying her husband, and they are like, well, it's your bed, basically, so now you gotta lie in it. And they refuse to help her or her children because she made those mistakes when she, you know, was a teenager, and now she's lived with them her entire life, so kids are dying. Her kids are fucking dying, and her family and his family even just refuse to help, and they're just nasty toward the kids, basically for existing. And it's not their fault, obviously. They're children raised in an environment that they have no control over. So those parts were really difficult to read as well, because you're just like, they're kids, man. Just help them out. Like, give them some bread. Don't be such a jerk to these poor children. Also, so Jim talks about the main character. They ask who his favorite character was, or who the main character was, and he says Angela, and then the ashes. So Angela is actually Frank's mom, who is not, I mean, you follow Frank around for the whole book, so obviously Angela is there, but she's definitely not the main character. And the ashes is one of those things that's kind of open to interpretation. Toward the end of the book, she spends a lot of time staring into a fireplace, but I feel like it's more along the lines of, like, the things that she's lost. Angela's ashes, like, she's lost all these children, she's lost so many opportunities in her life, like, I just feel like it was just more a representation of something, as opposed to just being, I don't know, physical ashes, but, I mean, it could be. I don't know. Angela lost a lot of things in this book, you know. She's lost so many children. She lost, like, I want to say she loses 3, maybe even 4 children in this book. I can't remember how many. There's a lot of dead children. She lives a hard life, you know. And you can't help but feel for her. She just keeps thinking things are going to get better, and she gets optimistic, and then, you know, her husband fucks up, and everything goes to shit. And every time they're on a good track, every time things are going well, eventually, you know, they stop going well, because her husband is an alcoholic and continuously blows all of their money on alcohol, leaving their family starving and destitute with no money for rent or clothing or anything. You know, the kids run around barefoot basically for part of the book because they don't have money for shoes, and it's a hard read, man. Worthwhile though. So yeah, that's that. That was Angela's Ashes. Thank you to The Office for being an amazing show that I love with all my heart. I'm wearing my Shroot Farms hoodie as an homage to this show of mine that I love so much. And yeah, next month my book club book is reading The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. And I picked this book because of my embarrassing obsession with the show Gossip Girl, and another one of these videos will be coming discussing that. So stay tuned. There'll be more to come.